Welcome back to Supercoach. You should know the deal by now, but if you're a new viewer, been doing these analysis videos, and this is another one for the forwards this time, and it's just pre versus post buy averages. And yeah, you put those two together and you get left with a differential here. And the reason why we're doing it is if there is a large differential like these guys and the ones here in the minus, we want to try and work out what caused it so we can try and make an informed decision on whether that's going to continue, we think, in 2026, and is it worth picking that player or not. Because sometimes there can be a lot more to it than might appear on the surface. Now, as always, there's no sub or injury games included in this, and no finals games either, although I think there was a couple in here where I might look at finals just because they didn't play too much. But yeah, it's not actually included in the table. Now, the problem with the forward line I found doing this, there's not a hell of a lot of relevant players, and quite a few of them that are, they either didn't play last year, so didn't really bother looking at it, or they just didn't play enough games. They only played like a couple of games or something. Well, there's no point. Or they played all their games like pre or post buy, so there was no crossover. So yeah, we're left with not many players, but shorter video is a good video, so get stuck into it. Now, I hate to admit this, but straight off the bat, Max Hall here for the Saints, so he had the biggest differential out of all these players, obviously. I couldn't really work it out. He's a bit of a mystery. So the heat maps didn't really show too much of a change in positioning. Probably the most significant thing I could find is his contested possessions went up on average by 3 a game. And he started to get a very small amount of CBAs post-buy. But in the games where he's like his couple of best scoring games, he actually didn't get any CBAs in those at all. So I don't think the CBAs really have an impact on his scoring whatsoever. So if there's any Saints fans out there, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm not here to try and explain everything. So, collaborative effort. If you guys can work it out in the comments and help me, that's good. I'm just here to present the info, and hopefully we can all draw our own conclusions from it. But yeah, with Hall, I think it's probably a bit of natural progression and confidence as the season went on. He's obviously a talented young player. And I even looked into whether it might be to do with wins and losses for the Saints, but it wasn't. He averaged 75 in both. So yeah, very consistent. That's probably a good thing if you're looking at picking him. And I know that would be a pretty wild pick, but if you were to do it, that's a pretty nice safety net, knowing that he doesn't really do any worse in losses. So, yeah, one to think about. Jeremy Cameron, so he's had a 22-point spike in the second half of the year. The interesting thing with him is that he had 12 tons for the year, but 11 of those were against bottom 10 sides. So he really liked to beat up on them, and taking nothing away from him. He's obviously an amazing player, had a great year. And the 1 ton that he did get against the top side was unfortunately against the Crom. So, but yeah, the reason he spiked is pretty obvious. As soon as there was talk that he could get to the 100, it looked like the whole team just started feeding him, and he averaged an extra goal a game and stuff in the second half of the year. So that goes a long way, as we know, towards scoring. I do expect that he'll probably decline a little bit. I mean, obviously, as I said, he's an amazing player, but he's getting on now, and it's a pretty hard one to back up. We know that he needs a lot of goals to score well, and even last year, like with the amount of goals he scored, same as with Gunston, neither of them were really top Supercoach players, I guess. So, yeah, not one that I'd be looking at. His teammate, though, Brandan Miers, so he's had, almost the same spike as Cameron. I don't know how to look for it, but there could be a correlation there, because Miers seems to be the guy that they want kicking into the 50. And if he was hitting up Cameron, that would be interesting. From the eye test, he possibly was, I think. But yeah, so there's another thing here with Miers. He increased his CBAs by 33%. Well, actually, having said that, pre-buy, he had no CBAs whatsoever. And then, yeah, he shot up to 33% after the buy. The only problem with that is Tanner Bruin and now they've got Warple. Are they going to eat into that? You got guys like Bose that already can't get CBAs, so they're going to get pushed right out. Is Miers going to go back to being more of that like half forward rather than playing in the midfield? I don't know. But they've got to fit him somewhere, so yeah. I'm not exactly sold on it being a CBA thing though, and the reason why I don't think the CBA is the sole cause of his scoring increase. He averaged 71 points across the first 6 games. Then he got injured for a couple of he was out for a couple of weeks. Then he came back from injury in round 9, and he did 106 between round 9 and 19. But he didn't have a single CBA in that time, so he only really got the CBAs like later on. So that's interesting. That definitely points to it not being dependent on CBAs, even though it kind of does line up. There's definitely proof there that it's not the cause or the sole cause. His disposal efficiency increased 11% as well, so you know that's going to do wonders for your Supercoach scores if you look at Jordan Dawson and guys like that. But yeah, I think the main thing is that they were targeting Cameron, but they also were trying to give the ball to Miers as much as they could, because he's an absolute elite kick, and you know, if I was coaching that team, that's who I'd want kicking to my forwards. So yeah, I think Miers is a real interesting pick for next year, for sure, especially if he can keep up this like 107 average. And we know Geelong are going to be up there again. They're always up there for almost my whole lifetime. I think they've been up around the finals. So yeah, amazing club. So consider Miers, I think, for sure. Thilthorpe's very easy. The Crom didn't lose a home and away game after the bye. Obviously, they shit the bed in the finals. But yeah, Thilthorpe's the main forward target, and he has been for the last couple of years. And so he's obviously going to score a lot better in wins, and he did. And that's it. That's the whole story there. Zach Bailey, so he's an interesting one, and I know that he's quite popular at the moment. I've seen all kinds of people talking about him, and yeah, I'm not sold, but it just seems to be a case with him that he got more mid-time, especially towards the end of the year when Lachie Neale was out of the team. The interesting thing here is that 5 of his 7 tons were pre-buy, even though he averaged a fair bit more post-buy. And that's because he had far less of those floor games, like those real floor games. And I noticed that in the first half of the year where he'd score like a 70 or something, that was suddenly becoming like 80s and stuff in second half of the year. So that's all that really is. Brisbane as well, they're a team that really, start of the year, they're kind of just coasting, and well, this is the last few years anyway, but they really start to ramp it up towards the end of the year, heading into finals, and clearly it works for them. So yeah, I think Bailey was also just a product of that as well. So yeah, as I said, I'm not 100% sold on him, but I'd definitely be open to hearing comments about why people are keen on him. Sheezel's another easy one. So he spent too much time forward early in the year, and then sanity obviously prevailed, and Clarko chucked him back in the midfield and across half-back and all that. So it's where he belongs, where he scores his best. Even from a footy sense, like a pure footy sense, not Supercoach, I think putting Sheezel forward is just a bit of a waste, really, especially in that team. Now, I'm not keen on the pick, but I've included De Goey because I've seen quite a few people picking him and talking about him. Obviously, his 2025 was injury-riddled. He's not the most durable player ever. But, yeah, his final 4 games, he had over 50% CBAs again, which he normally has, but through injury and always seemed to be coming back from injury and stuff and limited game time, he wasn't getting the 50% or above CBAs until those final 4 games. And in that time, he averaged 76, which is what pulled his average up here in the post-buy. The only problem with him as well is 76 isn't going to cut it. Now, if he does a full pre-season and that, yeah, you think he'd score more than 76 if he's getting the CBAs, but he needs to average, I reckon, at least 90 to make good money and make it worth it. So can you really trust that? I don't, but again, I'm willing to hear arguments as to why he's a good pick. It's not like, I guess there's not like there's heaps of competition in that Collingwood midfield. Probably the biggest loser out of him being in there, as I discussed in the last video, is what's his name? Ned Long. So yeah, De Goey, I think there's better options. Even Treloar, like I think he's got more proven scoring ability around that price, and there's a few of them there, like Wardlaw and that. Just makes more sense. So I think these guys here, there's not really too much of a change. So Moore, Flanders, Rankin, Humphrey, Jack Graham. So I talked about Jack Graham in the previous preseason in some of these videos, and I remember saying, like, I'm not advocating for picking him, but there's definitely data there that suggests when he gets CBAs, he scores a hell of a lot better than what he was priced at. Probably wasn't the worst pick in hindsight to start with last year, but yeah, I'm definitely not advocating picking him again, because who knows with the West Coast midfield, and he's kind of one that he'll get CBAs and then he's out of the midfield, then he's back in, he's out, he's in, he's out. So he's not real consistent with his scoring. And I don't even know why I'm wasting time talking about him right now, but yeah. So McInerney, I wouldn't say he's terribly relevant, but I've seen a few talk about him, and yeah, he had an alright season. It'd be interesting to see without Florent, I guess. And I think Matt Roberts might struggle to keep his spot in the team. Bice as well, so maybe McInerney will kind of have it all to himself. I don't know. There's Blakey back there as well, but I think McInerney plays more up on the wing. Fraser, he's not. This isn't really statistically relevant at -3.9. So we'll start with Petracca for the negatives. And again, there's not many relevant players forward, and I explained why before. So Petracca, across his whole career, there's a pretty tight correlation with his CBAs and scoring. So he's your classic inside mid that he scores better with more CBAs. So towards the end of 2025, he started to lose his CBAs to Windsor. So that to me makes Windsor worth a look. At least like look into him. And then later on it was Rivers. So obviously Petracca was averaging a lot of CBAs. I forget the number off the top of my head, but a lot through the first 3 quarters of the season. Then he dropped I think it was like above 70%, but then right down to like 38% over the last 5 games. So in terms of 2026, obviously he's at a new club, so he doesn't have to worry about losing CBAs to Windsor or Rivers or Melbourne trying to go with a younger midfield. Okay, that's over. But is he going to get enough CBAs at the Gold Coast with Miller, Anderson, Rao in order for him to score what he needs to? I don't think he will. They're obviously trying to get Humphrey through there. Guys like Davies, even maybe Will Graham. I just can't see it happening with Petracca getting what he needs. Now, you could argue that, yeah, the forward primos to start the year, they're a bit light on, but I don't know about Petracca. He's also been in a pretty steady decline, Supercoach-wise, for the last 3 years, if you look at his averages. So I'm not starting him. I haven't looked into this fully, but a friend told me as well that he averages low scores at People First Stadium and in Darwin, because the theory is he doesn't like the humidity and the slippery ball. But again, I haven't looked into that, so I can't confirm or anything. But it's something to look at, I think. But yeah, Petracca, I think there's enough there to suggest not picking him. Who knows? He could do really well because he's going into a good team and stuff, and might kick a whole bunch of goals. Who knows? But yeah, right now, that is enough to put me off. And then obviously we got Darcy last. Yeah, kid's amazing. The similarities in his and Thilthorpe's stats is unbelievable as well. I wouldn't say they're similar players, apart from like their height and stuff and the position they play, but yeah, interesting career trajectory for both of them and stats and stuff. So the main thing I could find for Darcy dropping off, stats-wise, was he spent 10% less time in the ruck post-bye. So I don't think that's going to hurt him enough to drop it down nearly 13 points a game. But the main thing for me from the eye test, it looked like teams were eventually working out how to stop him taking so many marks. And he particularly, I don't know about struggles, but he doesn't do as well on those really tall defenders like Alex Pearce and, you know, guys that are up around 200 centimetres, because obviously his height is his main asset, and they kind of, if they can reach it or reach the ball, it just takes it away from him. So I don't think he's incredibly strong yet either, which is not his fault. But yeah, that theory is backed up by the fact that he took 3 less marks a game on average in the post-bye. So yeah, I think though he'll be fine. He'll probably put on some weight and some muscle in the pre-season, and he may have already done it, but you know, not having the major injury that he copped this year, hopefully he stays fit and that will help him as well. I think for a guy that came back off that crazy injury, he had a pretty bloody good post-bye, but he's like any forward. He's obviously going to score better in wins and stuff, and the Dogs were kind of up and down. So I see a lot of people predicting that the Dogs are going to be a lot better this year, and if you're one of those people that believes that, then Darcy's probably a great pick for you, because when the Dogs win, he scores well. And as I've said, eventually I'll get to doing those averages and win versus loss, and I'm pretty confident that, because I haven't done it yet, but yeah, I'm confident Darcy's going to be one that, like most forwards, that scores a lot better in wins. So yeah, that's about it there. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Usually get good discussions. It's been really good this pre-season. The comments have been getting. So yeah, keep that up, because as much as I enjoy doing the videos themselves, I also enjoy hearing your thoughts, and yeah, just where it leads the discussion, I guess. It's pretty cool. Makes me think of things that I haven't thought of. So anyway, I'm on holidays at the moment still from work, so, and I hope most of you are. So I'll get another video out either tomorrow or the next day while I can. Strike while the iron's hot. But yeah, plenty to think about after that one, I think. And as I said, let me know in the comments, and then I'll see you in the next video.